It's apparently sweeps week, as all four wildcard series ended in decisive two-gamers. As for the Twins, they're headed to Houston, but not before sending a message to the Blue Jays and the rest of the league. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and you can find me on Twitter or the X, if you wish, at Brandon_WARNE. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Also, too, as we always say, comments are where we want to see you hanging out, chit-chat with you. There's going to be a lot to talk about here. Not only after games 1 and 2, but heading into a divisional series against the Astros, against an opponent that I think a lot of people, myself included, expected the team to play in the wild card round. So should be interesting, should be a good matchup. We'll have full breakdowns of that the rest of the week. But if you have questions you want answered on the show or any input you would like to give, as always, feel free at Brandon_Warren at Locked On Twins. Hit the DMs and they're open. Today's episode brought to you by Sleeper Picks. Swing for the fences on Sleeper Picks and you could win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code Locked On and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. Twins will open up the American League Division Series on Saturday against the Astros at Minute Maid Park. Time to be determined. I think they'll probably get the early window, but we'll see. But if you want to see, or rather listen to, every pitch of this hometown broadcast of your Twins with Corey and Danny, use the SiriusXM app and search Twins. And we're into the opener. We're into the opening segment of this program. And what more can be said? Twins going to the next round of the playoffs for the first time since 2002, since I was a junior in high school. So a little while. But I want to share with you some of the things that I kind of took in from the series, like messages I think the Twins sent. Now, some of these are subtle, some of them are obvious, but I think they're all going to be interesting in some form or fashion. And if it gets to run too long, we'll dive into it in the second segment. But the first one, and I'm going to try kind of go in order. The early error from Polanco, or actually multiple errors in the first game, did not come back to haunt the Twins. Now, that happened in game 1 of 2020 against Houston. The runner was Carlos Correa. The hitter, George Springer, who's on the Blue Jays. And now Correa fills the spot on the Twins where Polanco made that throw from. So a whole lot of worlds colliding there. But one thing I noticed, Twins broke the curse with A-Rod and Michael Kay in the booth. So Michael Kay is a broadcaster for the Yankees, and A-Rod played the Twins 10 times in the playoffs, went 9-1 in those games. And A-Rod himself hit .390 with a .435 on base and a .683 slugging percentage. So basically pretty much legendary performances by A-Rod in the postseason. But he did play in that game 1 loss back in 2004. Otherwise finished off his career with 9 straight playoff wins against the Twins. Twins' previous dominance of Kevin Gausman was not an aberration. We initially, or at least what I like to say is, I'm not as sure how much pitching splits come into play when you don't face a guy that often. When the Twins owned Chris Sale a few years ago, they faced him multiple times in a season. With Gausman, it's a little different just because in the East, you might see him twice a year, but it's not going to be more than that. But A-Rod actually mentioned this. The Twins were spitting on the splitter. Easy for me to say with a tongue twister there. But I really think it only came back to bite the Twins once. And I want to say it was the called third strike against Julien that was inside, where a splitter actually got left up and taken for a strike. But otherwise, they were very, very disciplined to took their walks, took their hacks, all that stuff. George Springer making the final out of game 1. Call back to the Twins playing the Astros back in 2020. Again, just kind of cool to see the Twins on the other side of that from Springer. Carlos Correa makes incredible plays in both games. We'll have a full breakdown of those in the second segment, but the play he made in the first game, to me, is kind of like a cousin to the Derek Jeter flip where he got Jeremy Giambi out at the plate at the Coliseum all those years ago. And then the pick play at second that they ran in the second game, again, we'll have a full breakdown of that. But 2 absolutely incredible plays that show why you go and get Carlos Correa. The plays that nobody else on this roster and maybe just a handful of players in the major leagues make right now. So just absolutely incredible there. Game 2, foul ball from Matt Chapman down the left field line that was pivotal. Probably would have cleared the bases, but was foul. To me, that's a callback to Joe Mauer and Phil Cuzzi back in 2009. Now, again, this ball was actually foul, but I think, it's not too flimsy of a connection where it feels like I'm making something out of nothing. But I do think, that was just interesting. That difference there and a few of the small little nuances and things that are the difference in a ball game. The Vladimir Guerrero pickoff, he's the trail runner, but he's the tying runner. That inning ending the way it did with Bo Bichette at the plate. Just another thing. But Caleb Thielbar, if it was pitching there and if that ball goes fair, it probably clears the bases. Thielbar comes back to get a double play ball, and that's that. Twins beat Jose Barrios in game 2, former Twin, old friend. Just kind of felt as though maybe that one was written in the stars. Gaussman, to me, seemed like the tougher one, but it really actually was the opposite. And that'll actually take us into this next semi-point, which was a pitcher got pulled early, and it wasn't a Twins pitcher. Jose Barrios cruising through 3 innings and 3+ innings. They walks Royce Lewis and gets lifted for Yusei Kikuchi, but gets lifted, and I think that's going to be something that Blue Jays manager Schneider is going to be answering for. Well, I'd say it for a very long time, but the way people were talking, they sound like they wanted to get him fired. So who knows if he'll be there for a long time. But Barrios just in complete control. And I understand like the analytical standpoint of Kikuchi against the Twins very left-handed. But that led to the Twins' 2 runs. I mean, directly, indirectly, however you want to say it. Royce scores run number 1. Kepler scores run number 2. So Barrios put on Royce, but Kepler, who has hit much better against lefties as the season has gone on, actually got to take a plate appearance against Kikuchi. Meanwhile, Donovan Solano hits for Alex Kirilloff, moves the line with a walk. Willie Castro hits for Wallner, grounds into a double play, but does drive in a run. And so to me, it was vindication for how, maybe those moves haven't worked all regular season long like the Twins had designed or had hoped, but this time it did. Twins ending the Blue Jays 2023 season when I think you can make the argument that the Blue Jays ended the Twins season in 2022. And I'm saying the Gary Sanchez, quote unquote, blocking home plate against the Blue Jays and Whit Merrifield. So these same Blue Jays and Whit Merrifield in August of 2022, early August. That was like a symbolic end, I think, of the 2022 Twins, whereas this was just the Twins straight up ending the Blue Jays season. But I still felt like there was a little parallel there. 1 run all series to what should be a pretty good Blue Jays offense. Now, with that said, hitting Kevin Biggio 5th in an elimination game is not great, not ideal. I know he's hit better of late, but this was a guy that Blue Jays fans absolutely despised coming into the season. So kind of incredible to see him in such a decently prominent spot in the order. But yeah, 1 run all season, and I am doing the SpongeBob meme, but with what pitching? I took so much grief before this season about what pitching the Twins would have, and boom, numbers 1 and 2 in those 2 games were incredible. Griffin Jax and Juwan Duran both showing that those late season struggles should be behind them. Jax just looking absolutely nails, and Duran, a little bit of misfire in the first game, but in general, he got his fingernail that he lost on the mound or wherever it was, and comes back to throw a couple pitches wild, and then 3 strikeouts in the inning rather. Just a tremendous job by those 2 guys to make it look like they've kind of turned a corner. And the Twins, I think you could make the argument were the less sloppy team. Now, that's not to say the Twins weren't sloppy, and Jorge Polanco's defense comes to mind. But Bo Bichette trying to take home, the Guerrero pick play, even with the errors, though, the Twins were able to tighten it up. And we're going to talk about those 2 plays in segment 2. But first, we have to talk about our friends over at Sleeper. MLB playoffs are here, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Baseball has never been more exciting than it is now. You got studs like Ronald Acuna Jr. and Mookie Betts getting ready to ramp up on the other side of things. Baltimore Orioles have about 1 million young rookie prospects who are exciting. And hey, those Minnesota Twins are pretty exciting too. Pick more or less on stats for guys. Yeah, home runs, strikeouts, hits, all that. And the more you pick, the better your multipliers are. You can get up to 100 times your payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big. And it's a no-brainer. This is such a fun game, such a fun app to use. It's so easy. A couple clicks, and you are in. Use the promo code Locked On. You'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply, but see Sleeper's terms of use for details. All right, so we are into our bullpen segment. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We will have a lot, and I mean a lot, of collaborative content with Houston here coming up during the series. We had a crossover coming up on Thursday. We had a quick hit on Wednesday night with the boys over there, and it's going to be a fun series. I'll have full breakdowns and all that stuff now. We're not going to get into that right now because we don't have that much time, but it's a good matchup for the Twins and the Astros. It's a team that can really hit and pitches enough to get by versus a team that can really pitch and hits enough to get by. So we'll see who wins that battle. Again, it's Twins, Astros. It's Minute Maid Park for the ALDS. Starting on Saturday, we'll see what time it is. We'll see all that fun stuff and who's pitching. Kind of feels like it's going to be Joe Ryan and either maybe Justin Verlander, but we'll see what happens. You can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast, however, with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Twins. Now, I want to talk about the anatomy of the 2 great plays that Carlos Correa made. One in Game 1, one in Game 2. And so there's a ground ball hit to Jorge Polanco in the first game. And that's already that's a prompt for like a scary story. Like if you're in improv class and they have prompts and that sort of thing. It feels like a ground ball to Jorge Polanco was like a make your own scary adventure in this series. And in this case, Kevin Kiermaier pops a ball to third. Kiermaier runs really well. It's a chopper. And for whatever reason, the in-between hop or whatever, Polanco biffs. And the ball just kind of rolls away into no man's land. And if you go back and watch at that point, and it's not center stage on the shot on the TV, but Carlos Correa is right next to second base when things are unfolding. And keep in mind, this is a guy who doesn't have wheels to begin with and is dealing with, maybe he's got 1.5 wheels at this point anyway. Wheels over there, flips the ball home with pretty solid accuracy. Ryan Jeffers on the back end makes a tremendous play to pick that ball up and make the tag. But just the awareness of Correa to know what the play was doing and how it was unfolding in front of him. Because even if you have fast reaction times, you're still going to need that split second to really figure out what's going on. And in that situation, you don't have that. Meanwhile, Correa, if you kind of look at him, in the play, you can see him kind of reading it, and he's a step ahead of it. And all truly great players, transcendent talents, have something like that in their DNA. I think Correa is hardwired to just be a step ahead of everybody on the baseball field. And that's why, even though he had a difficult offensive season, I think he's still a huge factor for this team, just because of his baseball IQ. So that absolutely shuts it down. Done. Twins finish off just a terrific game in game one. But that play loomed large, and not just large, but like huge. But could you make the case that the game two play was even larger? Certainly was in terms of the player involved, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But so wild pitch, Bo Bichette is at the plate. Vladimir Guerrero moves up to second. And as the trail runner in this instance, you're trying to tie the game. So you're taking an aggressive secondary lead. But one thing you have to be very careful of as the trail runner is to not fall asleep, because this is the exact thing that could happen. You do get lulled into a false sense of security when you're not being held on. Now, at second base, you're not really held on like at first base. But there's a lot of plays where the trail runner at first base can be picked too, because a lot of times those guys will be caught napping. They'll lead off bigger than usual off first base because they're not being held. And then they aren't going right back to the bag right away because they don't want to waste the steps or whatever. But at second base, it's a little different. So they do what's called a timing play, a pick play. And basically, the seed was planted by Correa to Sonny Gray and his teammates earlier in the game that the fans were loud enough that runners could not hear the third base coach for the Blue Jays. And so Correa says, there's going to be a chance later in the game to pick somebody off. We should take it. That situation comes up, and you kind of look at the replay, and looks like Sonny goes to the cap to acknowledge it, but there's a putting the play on and acknowledgement. It's very similar to what we would put on when we were if I was playing first base and I wanted to do a back pick on a runner, I would say the catcher's first name or last name, or he would say my name and I would acknowledge by tapping my hat or, doing something very, very subtle. You have to be very subtle about it. So Sonny looks over, whatever. But the important thing is that it's a timing play that both players have to be on the same page. Sonny said he had to, kind of remind himself to do his usual ticks. You don't want to do anything that tips off the runner that there's a play on. But a lot of times what it is you'll get the signal to start the play. Some people will do an open glove. Some will do like a behind the runner, kind of like a flash the glove, whatever it is. And then there's a process, an internal process for Sonny to count to a number, wheel and throw without looking. It's a ballsy play. It's a ballsy play in that situation. And let me explain why. Because if that ball gets away, now I went back and watched, Michael A. Taylor breaks in. So it's probably not as catastrophic as I initially thought. But at the very least, you're giving up one run, cutting your lead in half. If Taylor doesn't field the ball cleanly, I don't know. The way Vlad's diving back into second, I guess you probably can't say he'd score. But again, it does move the tying run to third base and doesn't end the inning. Bo Bichette's batting. You maybe walk him. It may be surprising they didn't walk him in the first place with, the fact that he's really the guy who's going to hurt you right now. But it was an incredible awareness play set in motion innings before. And then Sonny after the game had said they actually had gotten another hitter or another runner earlier in the year with it. I couldn't recall it off the top of my head, but apparently it was the case. But they worked on that in spring training, and then they kind of dipped back into that bag of tricks a week or so ago working on it. Sonny said in the post-game presser. So it's a reminder that the minutia, the stuff that you see in Fort Myers on the backfields that those guys are working on, it may not come up ever, but the one time that it does, it could be immense. There's very hard to imagine many plays in the series that were bigger than that. What an incredible couple plays. Not the MVP of the series. That's obviously Royce Lewis. Maybe only in a tie for the best defensive player in the series with Michael A. Taylor, who was just tremendous. So many great plays. But again, shouldn't lose sight of the fact that Carlos Correa made this team better in ways that may not show up in a traditional box score. When we come back, we're going to just get a vibe check, see where Twins fans are at as far as their jubilation after a 2-game sweep. And again, not sure I would call it a sweep. I just cannot wrap my brain around calling a 2-game series a sweep. But with that said, before we take a quick second, or before we move on, let's take a quick second to talk about our friends over at Bunches. All right, Locked On Twins fans, you may have heard about this new free app for sports fans called Bunches. Bunches is a new social network built for sports fans. No politics, no doom or gloom, I guess unless you're a Blue Jays fan, just sports. They recently released a new scoreboard feature that lets you check live scores in the app and chat about live games as they happen. You can chat about the Twins and join the Locked On Bunch by clicking in the link in our show notes /description. So whatever's underneath us, wherever you get your podcast, it's in the show notes. You can click on it, come hang out with the Locked On Bunch. And to get the app, you just got to go to the Apple App Store and download Bunches. It's super duper easy. Download the Bunches app today. And when you do, our friends at Bunches have featured the Locked On MLB Bunch in the Discover tab. You can also click the link in the description, show notes, and again, join the Locked On MLB Bunch community today. Wow. So basically, yeah, this is just going to be a vibe check, this final segment, 7th inning stretch, voice of the fan. And we had, as you might expect, a lot of enthusiasm, a ton of enthusiasm. And you'll love to see it because if I'm honest, I did think Twins fans would be a bit of a Debbie Downer about, oh, they only won one playoff game. Get back to me when you win the series. Get back to me when you get to the championship. You know, series of escalation. I just wasn't really prepared for it. But I'm impressed. I am absolutely thrilled with how Twins fans have reacted. And again, if Carlos Correa is to be believed, they're a big reason why the Twins were able to pull off the pick play that they did in the second game of the series. So, hey, hats off to you guys. But let's take a vibe check and see where some of our friends are. Our friend Adopt a Minor Leaguer doing some very important work helping support minor leaguers via food and that sort of thing, says, amazed I am with a Yoda gift. Gotta love that. Our friend Andrew Bagansky says he is bleeping jacked. Yeah, I mean, even I, as someone who hasn't really rooted for the team in about a decade now, it's hard not to have like this warm, like exciting feeling because it's something that you haven't seen or experienced in a long time. Basically half my life since the Twins have won a playoff game, and even more than half my life since they won a playoff series. So obviously jacked. Yeah. Our friend Dave Mencarelli says it's better than when Pinocchio became a real boy. Dave is a comedian. I gotta say, you guys came with some pretty great stuff here. And Dave, to me, one of those guys. Scott Wessel says, relieved the curse is lifted onto round 2. I think that's about right. I mean, honestly, as much as you want to really focus in on the fact that the Twins did some pretty historical stuff, you know, ending the longest North American pro sport losing streak in playoff history. At the same time, you can't take the tack that you're happy to be there. You have a team that has Carlos Correa, knock on wood, maybe Byron Buxton at some point, hopefully Royce Lewis back at third base. You can't just be happy to be there. So we'll see what happens. Alan Hess says it doesn't feel real. I tend to agree with that. It does feel as though we're still kind of floating and dreaming in a world where the Twins not only won a playoff game, but back-to-back games and swept a series. Just absolutely incredible. Our friend Greg says he's ready for the best of 7. It's been a while. If I'm not mistaken, the division series is 5, and then the CS and World Series are 7. But even a longer series than 3 or 2, as it were. is much, much preferable for my nerves. Jared Shea says dynamite. So obviously he's pretty excited as well. Ben Alphaby says all of the good emotions. And yeah, again, a good vibe check here. It's it's so nice to have some encouragement. It's so nice to have some people really turning their moods about this team around. Davis Priestman says, let's bleeping go. Tend to agree. Good friend Jake Peterson, a friend I've known for many, many years, since back when the Twins last won a playoff series, has the Nicolas Cage gif saying all these feelings hitting me at once. He said, though, game one, that it was the best atmosphere he'd ever been a part of. And so that goes a long way with me because, anybody who's been to a Twins playoff game in the Metrodome days knows that those games were rocking. And the stadium was built different. There were 20,000 more people than there are at Target Field. So for it to be that much of not a letdown, I guess would be the best way to phrase it, so it makes a little more sense, is great. And it's only going to get crazier games 3 and 4 when they come back to Target Field. And who knows, maybe they can wrap it up at home. That'd be obviously awfully nice. Our friend Conrad Engstrom gives us the Rocco Baldelli post-game thumbs up gif. Actually, it's not a gift, just an image. I love that post-game camera shot. I want the Twins broadcast to have kind of that unique, different thing, like that. And then, it's kind of a shame that they weren't the first on the spot with that exceptional Juan Duran entrance. I think actually SNY of the Mets got it first. So anyway, I love stuff like that. So that's obviously very, very exciting. Nick Tuttle says, shocked, pure bliss, stunned. We went to the same high school, and he was in probably 7th grade when the Twins last won a playoff game. So he's been waiting a while, just like the rest of us. Jody says, happy, but still in shock. Yeah, I don't know if it'll sink in until the morning. Obviously, recording this late at night, you'll probably be putting it in your ears, hopefully in the morning. But as I go to bed this evening, still, I'm just as shocked as the rest of you. Tom says he's speechless. Jesse Velasquez says very happy to win a playoff series. I think Tad says it really well. Turbo Tad. It's just the word A with about 20 capital H's behind it. Really does sum up the relief that I think you have to be feeling as a Twins fan. There's that scene in The Office where Kevin Malone they get their parking spaces back and he smiles and he just says, it's good to win one. That's kind of where I'm at right now as far as, where this Twins team is. Like, it's kind of nice to win one, but also, I'm not going to say that's good enough now. Excuse me. But yeah, it's hard not to be enthused to this point. Nick Olson says, good with the thumbs up. Jennifer says, awesome. Slade Gilmer says he's floating. Chris Hannell says he's so overwhelmed to a point where emotion cease. Chris, by the way, made an amazing documentary. Find him on Twitter at GoTwinkiesGo. You'll be able to find that. And it really encapsulates the pain that has come with being a Twins fan the last couple decades. Joey at DJ MVP says, happy for you guys. That's coming from a Yankees fan. So keep in mind, this is not a Twins team that everybody hates. It's just that they don't respect them. We saw that. There's a Blue Jays clip going around of a podcast where they basically were thinking about Houston already, and how'd that go for you? But yeah, so good to see that there's other fan bases kind of rallying around this. Joey Boatwater says he's feeling pretty good, like Larry David on Curb. Yeah, hard to argue with that vibe as well. Scott Lindholm says he's happy for Rocco and Carlos and glad the cynics can shush. Well, they still had some barbs to throw with Rocco's pinch hitting, but it is what it is. One more here. Dan Hartsung says says he's thankful that Schneider pulled Barrios. Go Twins. Yeah, lots of fun stuff. Ian says they're winning the World Series. I love doing those. I hope they're interesting to you as they are to me because, again, you guys are the reason the show exists. You guys are the reason that any of this exists. So, again, thank you, so much. And that's what we got for this edition. We're going to have a whole ton of stuff coming out here before the Twins take on the Astros starting this weekend. Hopefully they can wrap it up at home, but this is a wrap for Locked On Twins. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you follow at Locked On Twins, at Brandon_Warren, and at Locked On Min, M-I-N. And thanks for making this your first listen every day. We are going to be talking to the Astros guys on Thursday night, so get ready for that. Subscribe, like, give us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you are listening or watching on, and hang out in the comment section. Send us questions and all that fun stuff. Otherwise, this is Brandon Warren signing off saying have a freaking postseason. This is